We have a lot of new items to get through, so kicking it off with my favourite class and my favourite mechanic so far, these are my favourite Jules Joy items from the new build that we got to see. Starting off strong, we have the small 8 gold meal fortune cookies. Now, every 7 seconds, these will give you 3 joy, or rather, give your opponent 3 joy. But that's not the real reason why they're up here. Its passive effect is that when you sell this, it gives you an extra encounter for that day. Now, what I believe this to mean is for the duration of the rest of that day, every time you generate your 3 new encounter options, you will have an additional option, giving you more variance, giving you more options of things to do. Now, of course, this will bring the variance down a little bit. It'll give you a bit more control over the RNG, or at least it'll maybe give you a better option, so you'll be able to target more specific things. But that's just part of the reason why I like this so much. I think the main thing, there are 2 main things, okay. First of all, the mechanical main thing is that this is just going to encourage more churn than anything. First of all, you're buying an item and selling it, so you're buying this fortune cookie, so it needs space. You're then selling the fortune cookie to get its effect, so that's opening up a slot again, and you're going to have to spend again to fill that slot up. But you're also having an extra event for the rest of the day, so you're probably having a better chance of finding exactly what you want. So you're selling items that you have, churning through things, maybe getting shinies and fancies. It just encourages a much healthier playstyle, I feel like, and one that's definitely going to be more fun. And on top of that, part 2, it's just a bit different. It's not just hit the enemy with harder things, it's not make sure I survive longer, it's more of a utility item, and I like to see some of those. Now, beating it out in my number 4 slot is not my favourite, but Laurel's favourite. This is perhaps a strange choice for this list, but you'll see why. Laurel's favourite is a 3-cost medium meal. Every 10 seconds, it applies 20 joy, and when you get a meal or ingredient, you give this +2 joy permanently. So it does have a scaling effect to it, but at the end of the day, it is a hit enemy with big amount of, I was going to say damage, but in this case, joy. And if you remember just a moment ago, that's exactly why I said I gave fortune cookies a spot on this list, because it didn't do that. This isn't my tier list of exceptionally overpowered joy items for Jules. These are the joy items I was joyous to see. These are the ones that I'm going to look for just to have fun. So why do I like this item? Why do I like Laurel's favourite? It's actually a lore thing. It's got nothing to do with the gameplay whatsoever. This is something that someone spotted during the stream. It wasn't even me. It was in one of our Discord members. So if you want to get involved in a bit of a deeper dive on the Bazaar, be sure to check out our Discord link below. There's the one to the official Bazaar Discord down there as well if you want both. But yes, one of the lovely folks in there pointed out that Laurel is actually Jules' daughter. So Jules is a chef. She's a chef class. She's come to the land of the Bazaar seeking her own fortune and glory and create this sort of name for herself, but also to provide for her family. She has a daughter whom she loves, and we see her mentioned in a couple of places throughout her kit, and I adore that. It's a very heartwarming thing to see in an otherwise very technical game. So yeah, I love it purely for that reason, and for that it is number 4. Now, number 3 is here for purely mechanical things, and again, not necessarily just the mechanics of the item, and that is Midday Snack. Midday Snack is a 2 gold cost small meal, and every 6 seconds it will apply 1 joy, and when you sell this, you fully heal. So just by looking at that, you might assume, okay, it's kind of like fortune cookies, it has this utility, it's fully healing you, that's why Greg likes it so much. Okay, they're a little bit high, but sure, I can see it. And while you're kind of right that helps it get on this list, it's not really that strong of an item. It is small, so it helps trigger a lot of things in Jules' builds, and really see Reynad use it to pretty good effect. But the reason why he's able to get it is kind of why it's on this list. Midday Snack is an option for the start of day for Jules. Every class, when they start the day, used to get an option between some health, some strength, and some other sort of very base stat things that were uniform across the board. Now every class has their own day start event, and in Jules' case, one of the things she can take for herself is a little midday snack to help her get through the workday, cooking up lovely treats as she does. So that's the sort of thematic side of it. You know, she has a midday snack, she sells it, or eats it, I would guess in this case, right? And heals up from it. But the real reason why it's in this slot, why midday snack is number 3, is just because it signifies this new age of the day start. It separates the classes, and it just looks fun. I can't wait to see what they've done with some of the other classes. In my number 2 slot is Caviar. This is a small meal costing 8 gold, and every 11 seconds listen to this one. It applies joy equal to the total cost of your opponent's board. How is that for an ability? This is maybe a little bit of a spoiler, maybe not. Maybe you'll be able to figure it out ahead of time, who knows. This is the highest ranking item on this list for me, purely based on the item's effect. And it's actually one of the only ones. Fortune Cookie was the other one that was just purely there based on effect. Caviar is the only other one purely based on effect, but we'll get to number 1 in a minute. Caviar, it's just fun. Who's going to have a cheat board? No one's going to have a cheat board. So this item scales as your opponents are scaling. Don't forget, when you upgrade an item to shiny and then fancy, it adds the value of each item on top of it. So if you have a 4 gold item, it's an 8 gold shiny and a 12 gold fancy. Caviar just hits harder and harder. Not only that, but now we can choose our opponents at the end of the day. There is a certain class that is very good at generating money on their board. Now, Vanessa can do it with things like Wanted Poster, but I'm of course talking about Pygmalion. Pygmalion, we actually saw Reynad do this with his piggy bank. Every time you went to an encounter, piggy bank's gold value increased. He sold it while it was worth something ridiculous, like 28 gold, I think it was, something like that. If you pick Caviar, you can choose Pygmalion as your opponent for many of the days, and you're almost guaranteed to go up against a high value board, because even if Pygmalion hasn't gone for things like piggy bank, Pygmalion has more ways than the other classes so far of generating gold, which means he has a better chance to get high value items on his board. Caviar is just going to be swinging crazy against Pygmalion. And while I said this wasn't a power only list, the power of Caviar definitely sort of helped it creep its way on, as well as just being fun and punishing to ghosts. So fun for me, and they're just a ghost, so they don't care. Hey, we're not about zero sum here. So before I get into number 1, my honorable mention, I guess, would be Universal Source. This one, again, basically just for the theme. They've tried to just throw a condiment that you can put on anything. For most people, that would be ketchup or red sauce, I guess, as Americans call it. I personally lean into barbecue. I have that with basically everything. So yeah, the Universal Sauce is an honorable mention just because it's kind of fun. But it is not my number 1. My number 1, I wonder if anyone actually got this. I wonder if it's possible to get this. It has absolutely nothing to do with what it does. It has entirely everything to do with exactly what it is, but based off of a premise as to why I think it is what it is. So, if you haven't yet figured it out, my number 1 choice is the Dragon Melon. So, the Dragon Melon is a meal and an ingredient of medium size, costing you 10 gold. Every 19 seconds, it deals 100 joy. Now, that is a number enough to catch the eye. But that's not why. It's not why it's here. I mean, it helps. It certainly helps. It has 2 archetypes, so that also helps. It's nice and fancy and expensive. Caviar will do a good chunk of joy damage against it. But no, this is purely here because of the meme that has been true on this channel for a long, long time. If you follow us on Twitch, there should be a link below. We go through all of the Bazaar updates there. We do lots of builds and stuff. So if you're interested in the Bazaar, go down there and follow that channel, but then come back and watch the rest of the video. The channel points we have on that page are Dragon Eggs, and I might have to rename them, at least once we get the artwork for Dragon Melon, because Dragon Egg we saw from the very get-go and didn't know what class it belonged to. I assumed it was a Jules class card because it's an egg, it's an ingredient, she cooks with it, right? But no, I think it's Pygmalion that has it. And it does completely different things. You're supposed to be like hatching this egg rather than cooking it, but I continued to make the meme forever that I would play Jules and I would find a way of cooking the dragon egg. That was my one goal in the Bazaar. Lo and behold, here we are, several months, if not years later, and Jules has a dragon melon card, which is a similar sort of shape, I guess. I don't know. I don't want to assume too much. I'm very certain that this wasn't included in the game just because of a shitty meme that I put forward. But if there is that slightest chance that there was, or if it even influenced it a little, then A, yay for me, that's kind of hilarious. But B, the more important thing is, that shows that, and we already know the devs are listening to the community, but it shows that the community can have an impact. This was just for an item, and this was just a meme that we were coming up with. But we know that they are looking for regular content, especially after the launch. In the lead up to the launch, they're going to be working out things that are sort of set in stone. We're probably not going to have as much influence over them. But when they're working on weekly or even daily content, that's when they might be leaning on the community a little bit harder. We saw from Reynad's stream, he actually spoke about at length the types of events they were looking to include. They wanted to be able to put in, I don't know, seasonal events. He even spoke about having different daily events.
As a live service game, it's really easy for us to keep like updating it and adding new shit. So I'm really interested in like smaller, more frequent content updates. So, you know, maybe like log in every week and there's a new encounter that week and a couple new cards for your class. And, you know, I don't know exactly like the frequency that we'll be able to output yet, but I think there's power in the Bazaar being a little different every time you log in. And I've already like gotten a feel for what that feels like. And I like it a lot. You know, like I'll be playing the game one day, I'll open it up and I'll be like, oh shit, Lickett's in here now. It's a new encounter. I wonder what he does. And I click on it and I'm like, oh shit, this is cool. And
so every time you log into the game, it feels a little bit fresh and new. Well, if they're trying to vamp that up with extra events coming in, a community is a great source of unlimited creative cognitive power. So yeah, definitely keep your ideas coming. There are a bunch of channels in the official Bazaar Discord like Build a Bazaar and Q&A questions that you can ask them for, or feedback suggestions, and you can just put your ideas there. Maybe they'll take them, maybe they won't. Anyway, if you are now more interested about Jules following this lovely top 5 video, then you should probably check out all of the cards and items of hers that you've missed so far in this next video over here. So go ahead and do that, and I'll catch you on the other side.